Okay, with it being after 7 o'clock, we'll call the October 25th meeting to order, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I haven't read the minutes. I know Al usually does, so we'll just hold off on that.
Okay.
Okay, COC 509 Waverly Road.
We'll need to continue, we should continue to the November 15th agenda. The engineer's back on board, and they're working on some stuff, so.
Okay. Motion to continue.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous. Next one is 242, 1795, 597 Forster Street.
Alrighty. This order issued in October of 2020 governed installation of a replacement septic system and associated work. Part of it was moving the existing driveway to the other side of the house to accommodate the septic system tank, and because that was the only place the septic could go, so they needed to move the driveway to the other side of the house. There was a remnant concrete pad in the and timber and surround in the wetland in the 25, but that was determined to be well before wetland regulations, so the commission grandfathered it. However, conditioned it that it would never support any structure. That's being adhered to. The wetland mitigation area is has been planted and has at least 2 or 3 growing seasons now. Shrubs look good, and that area is not being mowed anymore. So I noted some deviations from the approved plan. The front steps and walkway and landing were extended further towards the street, but they remained outside the 50. An additional section of retaining wall was added to the front of the house to hold the grades, because it was going to be a pretty steep slope for the front yard, so they just retained it. I think part of it was, the septic tank was there as well, and that was just going to be inside a slope that had, was just going to dive down to the front. But it's not in the 50. A portion of the proposed driveway turned into a retaining wall and paver walkway, because when they had to excavate down along the side of the house to get the driveway in, and the bump out has a timber support for a foundation, and they dug beyond that, so it was just the dirt, the soil that it was sitting on, so they had to retain that side. But it was basically, it was going to be pavement anyway. And then alongside the edge of Foster Street on the southwest side, the homeowner installed a swath of crushed stone so that runoff from the street wouldn't rip through that yard area and pretty much erode it into the wetland, basically. And they planted some arborvitaes on the edge there. So those are the deviations. I did invite the homeowner. He was going to try to make it. He didn't know if he could. But I said if there are questions that you guys have that I can't answer, then we would have to continue. But at least I wanted to kind of present this and give you what my findings were.
deviations between as-built and what was approved, to me, are, all within, compliance, things that if we had known about ahead of time, we would have approved anyway, so I have no issue with any of it. In fact, I think the stone edging along, the crushed stone edging along the side of the driveway was actually a great BMP.
Yeah.
Something that, if we had asked them to do it, I think we might have been asking for too much, but they did a good, but they
Right.
did a good thing here.
That's right.
So I think it's fine. I think if we can enter the drawing as the record, therefore
Yes.
those things show up as a memorial to their
Yep.
legal existence,
Yep.
then we're fine. And that's my opinion, so I'm all set. Thank you.
My only thing, Amy, is if we approve this, is to emphasize to this contractor or engineer that moving forward, to make sure he plays by the rules.
I know.
I mean, everything he's, like you said, everything he has is improvable, but
Right.
notification would have been nice.
Yep.
No, I know, I agree. And I did let him know that, That's-
This will probably be his one get-out-of-jail-free card.
okay.
No questions, right?
I agree with both of you. I have nothing else to add, no questions.
Yeah, just one question for me. Is there any more work that needs to be done about that foundation?
He did talk about maybe in the future actually doing a real foundation. And, I said with permitting, you can keep what you have and reinforce it if you, need to pour an actual footing and stuff like that. I didn't give him any hopes to expansion, but keeping within the footprint that he has with permitting that, so
So if it
he's
starts
thinking
to-
about it. He's thinking about
If
it.
it starts to fail, he's gonna come back.
Right. And he may want to do some more infiltration of the roof underneath the driveway, subsurface infiltration, so, but that's in the future. But he
Okay.
knows that he has to file.
Nothing else for me.
Okay.
Okay? Motion?
I move that we issue the certificate of compliance for 242 1795 597 Foster Street.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? And that's unanimous. Next one is 242-1858, 189 Willow Street, request to withdraw.
Without
So do we
prejudice.
accept their request to withdraw without prejudice?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's unanimous. Just get this one out of the way. 242-1869, 674 Turnpike Street, request to continue till November 15th.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? And that's unanimous. Next one is 242-1859, 0 Turnpike Street.
We're going to need to continue to the November 15th meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's unanimous. Next one is 242-1877, 271 Stevens Street.
Great. 271 Stevens. Okay, I'll give a little rundown and you guys can fill in the gaps if I miss
And
anything.
what we'll do is we'll get a rundown, and then we'll see if they have any questions, and then we'll ask you.
Alrighty, so this is an after-the-fact notice of intent for work that started on a patio expansion and associated retaining walls. The work is within the 100-foot buffer zone, but it's well outside the 50. The closest the work is about 68 feet. And the new patio will be constructed of pavers and will be approximately 741 square feet. There's a note on the plan that indicates that a section of the pavers will be removable to provide access to the cleanout for the existing subsurface infiltration chamber. A small strip of crushed stone will be replaced with pavers that run along the backside of the house. The retaining wall extensions will be installed on the up-gradient and down-gradient side of the new patio. The up-gradient wall extension will be about 64 linear feet, and includes steps to the backyard. The down gradient retaining wall will be about 29 linear feet, 29 additional linear feet, and there'll be steps to the driveway. And the wall overall is about 3.7 feet
Yep.
tall, so under the 4 foot. You know, and it's all down gradient to the wetland that's up behind the existing fieldstone wall. And that's it in a nutshell.
Thank you. Joe?
No, I think everything that we raised during the enforcement order, part of the discussion, really, it's just been incorporated to this plan, and I don't see anything that differs from what we had talked about at that time, so I think I'm good. The certificate of compliance was issued a full year before this actually happened,
Yes.
right? Yeah, that's
Yep.
what I remember.
Yep.
Okay, I'm all set, thanks.
My only comment is that moving forward,
Yep.
please, call the Conservation Commission and
Absolutely.
do it ahead of time, because all this aggravation you guys have gone through
Absolutely.
wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
And on our part, we have to be consistent.
Absolutely.
We can't look the other way for you and then the next applicant coming.
Yeah, I completely understand. Yeah.
So-
It was just an oversight on my
That's
part.
okay.
I
So,
did the retaining
'cause
walls out front.
It
and I
was
just-
definitely an approvable project, and
Yeah, great.
so,
Thank you.
thank you. Right?
I have no questions or comments on the submittal. I think it looks pretty good. Do we need to close out the enforcement first before we
Oh, yeah, I forgot.
vote on
I think we
issuing the order?
can. I
Yeah.
think we can.
I forgot.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Just
enforcement
for
order,
sequence.
that's to file the NOI, that was the last thing we needed to
Right,
get.
right.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's all I have.
I have no questions.
All right, so let's
I
get.
guess, no, I just want to point out that the order will include a condition that the sand that you use in the joints
Yep.
be permeable.
Yep.
Okay,
I
so.
think, I don't know if John added that to the plans. But
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, just so you're aware.
Sure.
All right, so we need a motion for the enforcement order.
So I think we can lift the enforcement order now that the order is taking its place, and work can't begin until all pre-construction requirements are in place.
Right.
And this will, yeah, yep.
Yeah.
And how long is that meeting?
Well, I can issue the order tomorrow.
Okay.
It'll be ready, and so the clock will start for the appeal period.
That's 10 days.
Yeah.
Okay.
it's
Can we
10
deliver material in the interim?
If you can
Just
keep
pallets.
it out of the
Just
buffer.
pallets of retaining wall block off of the driveway.
I mean,
On pallets on the driveway? Or
Off of the driveway. On their,
Like on the
their
strip.
property.
Well, like
In
you say,
between.
you do stuff like that in your own peril because if somebody appeals?
Yep.
which
Okay. I
won't
was just
happen,
asking.
but-
Okay, perfect. We'll just wait.
okay, I mean, if you have room outside the buffer, we'd have nothing to say about it, but, you know what
It's
I mean?
okay, we'll wait.
Okay, okay,
We've been this far, so. yeah.
okay.
Yeah, we don't want to, anything to hold us up.
Okay.
All right, so we
Okay.
need a motion to rescind the enforcement order.
Thank you.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous. And now we need a motion for,
I move that we close this decision within 21 days, or probably tonight.
Second.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous. Thank you.
Alrighty, so I'll email you guys when the order's ready. You can come pick it up if you want.
Thank you.
But I'll send you an electronic version
Great.
anyway.
Awesome.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, next one. 242 1878 30 Ann Road.
Where is it? All right, here we go. All righty. Okay. We have the engineer here this evening with us, and I'll give a quick rundown, and then we'll go around with questions. So I just want the commission to be aware that this is a flip. The house is in need of TLC, so we have a builder that probably has plans for the property, and I told the engineer that we really need to know everything that he's contemplating on the property, and asked that they have that discussion, so we could potentially get it on this plan. So, and that would require, the delineation stops, but it would need to wrap around the side of the house because the wetland continues, and then there's an intermittent stream that connects to it, that runs under the power lines there. Natural heritage indicates that a vernal pool is in the wetland. We can talk about that. I think the engineer said that he's working with the attorney to research easement rights for the common driveway. And I know that's something the commission would want to know for sure. And, let's see, so other plan notations are needed, but I thought it appropriate that we at least get some feedback from the commission before, another draft is prepared. So basically, this is connecting the house to the existing sewer in Ann Road. It's a force main. It's a force main. It's gonna go over twin culverts that are in the common driveway, and it seems that they can go over instead of under, but we can talk about that with the engineer as well. We reviewed the wetland line. I didn't make any changes to the delineation, so what we have is accurate. The 10-foot notice, or the 10-foot buffer has to get changed depending on whether it's just a regular old wetland or a vernal pool wetland. So it was holding some water when we visited last week, so. But there's, the wetland itself has a culvert and then the intermittent stream, so are they permanent flowing outlets? I think I need some guidance from the commission on that. But, so if I missed anything.
No, you mostly got everything. I just want to, first off, the initial plan was just to connect to sewer before the November 15th deadline, but I spoke with engineering that we'll be able to kind of get permission beyond that. So as you
Excuse me.
said, we're gonna.
We have talk first, and then we'll
What was
ask.
that?
He's just he's summarizing your summary, right?
Yeah, I'm just,
All right, okay.
yeah, just name and a name
Yep.
for
The name
the
is Alec
record.
Chong, Chong's Engineering, representing the client. Yonner, this name's hard to say. I don't know how to say it properly. However, so the initial goal, what we tried to do was connect into sewer before the November 15th deadline with engineering. After conversation with the engineering department, that's really not critical anymore since it's a very small cut into the sewer line. But regardless, some of his plans are changing, and so the next revision we're going to show all of the client's proposed additions to the project, which are going to include things of the nature of repairing the deck, repairing the shingles, re-roofing, things of that nature. And then wait for, there's a couple things going on here, but I'm sure you guys have some questions, so I'll kind of answer it as you go on and be happy to guide you through it.
Oh, and there is a shed that's on the side of the driveway in the 25. So that'll have to.
My question is, because I don't know, right now, the NOI is for the sewer connection. Now they're saying they're gonna need additional work. Now, can they do an amendment or a modification on this NOI to do the work at the house, or they gotta file another separate NOI?
I think it's kind of up to our discretion. I mean, I think if it's truly a different project, a new NOI would be needed. It seems like if you wanted to compartmentalize this, I don't know if you have deadlines to get this particular work done or something like that, you could get approval for this first, and then come back,
And then we
and
file.
then, yeah, depending on, if it's a lot of work, I would say a new NOI would probably be required. If it's just sort of smaller stuff, maybe amend the existing order, but I think we have the discretion either way. That's my take on it.
Okay, like I said, I want to give this guy a direction, because I don't want him to think that he can just file an amendment to this one, and then we turn around and tell him, no, you gotta file another NOI.
Well, I mean, even if you amend it, you still have to go through the public notice process. It's not,
True.
it's not that much of a different process. It's, I mean, it's more, obviously, there's another fee associated with it and stuff like that, but
Okay,
that's my take on it. I don't know anybody else.
what do you think, Joe?
Well, I was gonna go right, this is your first time appearing before the commission, right?
With North Andover, yep.
Yeah. And this is your company?
This is my company.
Your
yep.
company, yeah. So, I mean, I want to cut right to that, it doesn't even meet the minimum filing requirements. It's not, I'm not sure if you did the on-ground survey, if you took an existing survey and doctored it. It doesn't look like a product that you would typically use to file an NOI. It doesn't have a stamp on it for one. So that,
May I
I think the filing's deficient to begin with.
So may I
But
speak?
the reality is, what's before us tonight only is connecting the house to the sewer. And because of that, you're trenching down a driveway, you're gonna patch a driveway and only patch. You're not gonna reclaim and repave the entire driveway, you're only gonna patch. If you wanna do something like that, that's exactly what these guys are talking about. We need to know that now. And
Yeah.
it should be part of this filing.
So as if I can kind of correspond, initially was going to ask for a continuance, but he wanted me to try talking with Amy was just to kind of bring it up here. There was some amendments that need to be changed to the plan, and it's obviously not a stamped plan, but I wanted to bring it up to the hearing
Yeah.
as to see what it was, just based on conversation with the commission. I have no problem adjusting everything. I'm trying to get guidance from the commission on whether you want us to have a combined NOI showing everything, or if you want to have the NOI specifically just for the sewer, or if you want to have it with everything, whatever you guys prefer. It doesn't really affect us or me or the client.
You've already heard some of the discussion. I mean, the reality is, the efficient way and the correct way is to envision what the project is. And if this is a development project, whether they call it a flip or whatever, it doesn't matter, it's a development project. Someone has a vision of what they're going to do in order to put this house on the market and sell it.
Correct.
Ask for all that activity as part of this. So revise this application to include those things. If it includes landscaping, or if it includes some changing of grades, or if it's gonna be a small little addition, or anything else, do it now. And change this filing. So if we do a continuance, you can submit new plans with this new additional information, and it's now something you got permission for. So rather than do just the sewer, if there are
So,
other things, tell us now.
Correct, but that's more that's what I'm hearing. So I'm trying to figure out what you guys want, because my initial contract with the client is to connect to sewer because it's a failed Title V system. He's on I'm not 100% entirely sure if he's going to be holding on the house, because he may be living into the house. He's kind of has some things going on, but he has a failed septic system, so he just wants to connect him to sewer. I can talk with the client to see which way he wants to go for.
Which is fine. I
Which
mean,
is
if that's all he's looking to do, and that's it, and it doesn't get any ambitious,
Yep.
then we can give you permission to do exactly that and only that. But at the very least, the question I ask is, did you survey these, or is this from somebody
This
else's
is a stamped
product?
survey plan. I can if I didn't provide
The
hard copies
the
of the
paper
stamp,
copy
I can
is-
give you a stamped plan.
Is where?
Is stamped and
Okay.
signed. It's just the electronic copy wasn't, and that's what I printed off for
Got
you
it.
guys.
Not
Sorry about
required
that.
to do
Because
that.
you do have a good record
Yes.
drawer. Okay, fine.
Yes.
Excellent. And I guess now specific to the actual proposal, where you're putting a force main out crossing the culverts, do you have enough information of whether you're gonna be over the culvert, under the culvert?
Yes, that's why it's showing above it.
What's that?
It's showing above the culvert.
You're showing it above it?
Yes.
And how deep is that from the?
About 1.5 to 2 feet of coverage, depending
Okay.
the location.
Insulate.
You can see in the,
It
in the
looks like
profile
it
view.
says 93 for the culvert, and then 104 for the grade above it. So it's got 10 feet of fill over the culvert, is that correct?
Not 10 feet of fill. It has about 92 plus 2 is 94, and then the grade is around 95-ish. So it's about a foot. But I think that's more of a
Just a foot over the culvert?
correct, but that's more of a I feel like a engineering thing rather than a resource situation. I've already spoke with engineering about that.
How deep does a sewer pipe have to be?
The sewer pipe, if it's a gravity, is around 4 feet, but it's going to be a force main, and I want to make sure it's pitching somewhere. So if we were to go underneath the culvert, it would be having a belly in the force main, and that is not good engineering practice, so that's why we're having it going above it, to allow it to pitch into the manhole. And the reason why we have to do a force main is because when the town threw the sewer main at the end of 30 Ann, they did not consider the culvert in the middle of the street, so you cannot do gravity there, because there's 3 stubs there, but we're unable to connect to them through gravity.
Oh, so the other people are gonna hook up to it too?
There's already one person at 29 that's connected by force main, and the other number 37 is still on a septic system because they have not failed Title V yet. But if they do want to connect to it eventually, it's going to be through a force main,
And through their own individual force main.
individual force main.
Yeah. I'm actually looking at the profile, and it looks like it's all downhill.
Correct.
So you're
can't-
pumping downhill.
And the reason why we're doing that is because we can't get the 4-foot coverage for the gravity. If we were going to put a gravity 6-inch sewer, we'd have even less coverage, and then you have a frost situation. So that's how we're proposing putting a force main. Even though it's going downhill, it's still got, since where the grinder pump is below grade, is still going to have head, and it still needs to be pressure dosed. I wouldn't advise having a 6-inch gravity over a 2-foot culvert with only foot coverage.
Okay, so given where the brook is and the wetland is and the depth of where the force main is, I don't expect to see you in groundwater because it seems like you're going to be ahead of it.
I don't expect groundwater, but I speak with Amy. If you guys want, we can propose it if it is encountered, but I'm not expecting any groundwater. The only place where it's probably going to be below groundwater would be where the actual grinder pump gets, but again, it's higher elevation there, so I'm not expecting groundwater.
Yeah, I think that as far as guidance, we would just probably at the very least require a detail of a groundwater pump and treat system.
Yep.
Basically just a hay bale circle.
Yep.
And filter fabric. Show it on the plan. That way if something does happen, you're able to have that detail for them to use. I'm all set otherwise.
So my question is, it's common driveway.
Correct.
Who owns the,
So that's the reason, it's almost solved. We're just waiting for the letter from the lawyer. So it's a shared easement, but the grant of easement, whatever the attorney that originally drafted it referenced the plan, but didn't reference his grant of easement references dimensions, but it doesn't correlate to the plan that it also references. So there is an easement there, but this needs to get written something from a lawyer saying yes, they have access into it before I advise anyone to actually cut into the.
because nothing's gonna happen until we get a
Correct. No, but understood. That's why.
correspondence of who owns the property.
Yep.
Yeah, like I said, I agree with what you're saying as far as that. So, if you're gonna go this route, because you're gonna fail Title V, you probably gonna end up filing another NOI
For what? For
all the work at the house.
Correct. And again, I think I'm contracted just for the sewer connection. If he's going to be, I'm not sure his timeline. I spoke with him. He is planning on doing a roof and deck at minimum. But if you guys, we can include that into this one or keep it separate. I just don't know if you guys prefer 2 separate NOIs for a property.
Well, you have to let staff know what's going on.
Correct.
I mean, typically siding and roofing, I wouldn't make them come file, but when they start talking about decks or any other patios, walkways, grading.
Sorry, not added. It's repairing. It would be repairing. Wouldn't be adding on impervious area. But again, that can be separate. If we went into it as a sewer connection, but sounds like it'd probably be easier to have an NOI specifically just for the sewer connection and have them file a separate one for any other additional work proposed, as a sewer connection is more critical since it has failed Title V.
Especially this time of year.
Yes. And you guys don't?
If you go with 2 NOIs, you'll want to close this one out before requesting the other one.
Absolutely.
The subsequent one.
Yeah, because you can't, if we have an open order, we can't open up another one.
Absolutely.
On the same property.
This would be the first task that he's going to be doing, is connecting into sewer.
Ryan, any questions?
No, I just agree with you. But I do think it's really up to how you guys want to play it. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, if you want to do 2 or 1.
Correct.
If he's not really sure what he wants to do now, it might not be worth putting all that effort into putting that on the plans now when that might change in the near future and then having to come back for an amendment anyway. So, my advice would be if you're going to include the work on the house in this on one NOI, make sure it's it, nailed down.
I
to what-
specifically think we're
what's
probably gonna
really
go the
wanted.
route of just having this sewer, because it's not like it's a development project where I'm holding the developer's hand the whole time. Specifically, I'm only here for the sewer connection, and I'll probably have it, I'll advise him that anything else after will be, whether he files it with another engineer
Yeah.
or continue on with me, that's fine.
Okay, my only other question, do we need any waivers for working the 25? I'm not
I
sure if
think-
it falls under, well, it's something to look into anyway. If it's gonna be continued anyway.
Yeah,
I mean,
we could have them fill out a waiver request.
It takes a
It's
waiver
just
because
all-
it would be exempt if it
Yeah.
was a public utility and a public
Yeah,
paved road.
that's right.
Paved public way, so it's
Right.
neither of that, so it takes a waiver, but that's just a formality.
It's an easy
you have to do
alternative
in a fee.
analysis, yeah.
Well, then in that case, make sure you have an alternatives analysis.
Have a what?
An
So-
alternatives
There is no-
analysis. Yes.
Well-
You
Go
have
down
to
the
have,
driveway or go through the swamp.
you
Those are
have
your
to,
choices.
you have to have one.
It's
for
basically a
waiver.
waiver request to work
Yeah.
within the
there
25.
is
And it's
one
going to be a very
I know.
straightforward,
Okay.
this
There's
is
always
why
the
I
no
have to
build.
be here.
There's always the
Yeah.
no bill.
Otherwise, I'm in the
There's always no
wetlands,
bill.
so
Go back
it's
to
not, and
septic.
I can give you the worksheet.
Yeah, that'd be, if it's online.
So that's fine. And I guess the record plan, we should update, our no disturb zones. With the potential vernal pool out there.
Well, the vernal pool
You
is
know.
gonna come up when we do the house, right?
Yeah.
So-
I mean, I guess that's more critical when we start
Yeah.
doing it. It's not
That's
going
what
to
I
really
mean.
My
affect
brain
that.
went there very quickly. The reality is you've got a failed septic system.
Yes,
Getting that addressed
is,
and coming down an existing paved driveway.
Yeah.
There's no greater, other than the temporary work during the construction
Right.
itself, there is no impact, especially if you protect either side, which they're gonna be required to do.
right.
It's not like that's gonna be an above-ground hindrance or gonna somehow alter migratory paths through the
Right.
culvert to either side. I think even with the certification of that pool and even it being, used,
It wouldn't.
it has no
yeah,
impact.
I got you. Yep.
My only question is more of a clarification on the plan. It's, I'm looking at a note on the profile view on sheet 1 of 1 about the sleeve 2-inch force main with 4-inch SDR 35 over length of culverts.
Yep.
Does that mean it's a pipe inside of a pipe?
Just a pipe over a pipe. Whenever you have a water crossing, water
Yeah.
line, it's kind of overkill, not necessarily, just to provide additional protection in case there was ever leakage in the force main, but it's just overkill.
How would you know if there was a leakage in the force main?
You really, that's kind of difficult to
You
track
wouldn't,
that.
would
You
you?
wouldn't, don't really know too well.
The SDR 35, is that plastic pipe also?
That's a standard sewer, gravity, standard sewer pipe, PVC. It's like the green stuff that you typically see.
Okay, okay. And I'll just offer one comment about the vernal pool. I think if the vernal pool has an inlet and an outlet, that it's not a vernal pool.
Okay.
That's what I recall, but,
I think it's gonna
It
be
has to be trapped water.
Yeah.
permanent, right?
no, no, it has to dry up too.
Yeah, but for the outlet has to be permanent under the bylaw. So if it's an intermittent outlet, that wouldn't, it could still be.
It's definitely
vernal pool.
intermittent. Both
Yeah.
of them are.
Yeah, I looked at the bylaw, right, because you mentioned it in your
Yeah,
email.
I just-
looked at it, right,
I
it
was
says
just
permanently
scratching.
flowing outlet.
Permanently.
So if it's an intermittent
Permanently
outlet-
flowing outlet to disqualify.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay. No fish, permanently flowing
No
outlet.
fish.
Yep.
And has no permanently flowing outlet.
Right.
okay, that's a good clarification.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that makes sense, because it's supposed to dry up at part of the time.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
All right, so
That's a
we-
question to face later.
I'd like to add just one more thing, if you don't mind. So we've talked about the sleeve as a precaution in case that, the pipe were to break, the force main were to break. It's almost never gonna break due to pressure. It's gonna be, sharp object, like sharp rock or something getting in, so the sleeve helps with that. Or the other thing is a freeze up. So you have insulation above it, which is normal for cover. At the culvert itself, you actually have that freeze potential from underneath, so you actually need to sandwich that force main between insulation at the culvert. above and below, because I don't think you have enough cover.
Yeah, I guess I could take a look at that. I mean, effluent's really kind of difficult to make it freeze regardless, especially if it has a pitch going down, but if that's something I can take a look at.
Yeah, again, I'm not able to get a real good handle on the top of the culvert to the bottom of your force main, but it looks to be almost less than the foot of cover to the roadway, to the driveway.
No, the driveway would be, look, the culvert, yes, it's closer to the culvert than it is to the top of the
So
driveway. Is
your
that what you're
freeze
saying?
potential is actually upward through the culvert into that area, so just in that area where it's literally crossing, you just lay the rigid insulation and put that pipe on top of it.
20 feet either side?
I don't need that much. I mean, it's really just at where the crest of the culverts are. So yeah, I would just close it like 8-foot sheets. I would just lay it right across the culvert and then put the pipe on top of it, or bed it on top of it.
Yep.
When you say insulation, what does that look like? What is it?
Rigid foam.
Rigid foam?
Actually, you're saying what it is? You're just saying insulate.
Insulation.
It's typically going to be rigid foam.
The cheapest way to go.
Okay, good. So we need a motion to continue.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, that's unanimous.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Good, 3 seconds.
3 seconds? Really good tonight.
All right, next one is
Oh, thank you.
242, no DP number 241 Mass Ave.
Alrighty. Okay. So Will Chupka is with us this evening from Moore and Cameron. I'll give you a rundown and then we'll go from there. So this is an after-the-fact NOI for unauthorized rehab work on an in-ground pool. During site plan prep, the commission recall that we had those August storms that occurred and resulted in roadway runoff running down the driveway and eroding not only the driveway but the slope alongside of the house as well. So that required additional survey and plan changes to address that problem. I visited the site yesterday. I made flag adjustment that brought the wetland up gradient closer to the easterly side of the pool house, and that will be a plan change that's needed. Erosion controls should be extended up the slope on the northeast side of the driveway work as well. So drainage work out front consists of grading at the front lawn within the Massa Ave, the Waverly Road right-of-way, to create a berm that directs water to the street and eventually to the existing catch basin. Create a bituminous berm around that catch basin to help further contain the water. Grade the top half of the driveway to further keep the runoff on the road. The earthen berm at the end of the driveway will be graded to direct flow away from the house. In preparing this, they had trouble getting a hold of DBW, but we do have review comments from John Borghese that I got this afternoon. They're in your packet. He has no problem with the proposal. He just cautions that any improvements will be the homeowner's responsibility for maintenance. So in other words, the town isn't going to take responsibility for what they're proposing to do.
But they wouldn't anyway. The town will be responsible for somebody else's property.
But it's in the right of way. So if you see
His
the property.
property's in the right of way?
No, the
No.
improvements, he's talking specifically about controlling the runoff from Waverly that finds its way onto the property.
Yeah.
They're building a sluiceway, right, as part of their improvement, just like you would a driveway. It's on the town right way, but it's your driveway. They're building a paved
Right.
waterway, and Borghese is simply saying that's, even though it's on town property, that's something you're putting in, the town's gonna have nothing to do with maintaining it.
Right.
Is that what I hear?
That's right. Right. So they're doing some grading out there and then work around the catch basin and then the driveway, which is partially in the right-of-way, but that's their driveway, so.
I know it's been functioning for a long, long time, but is the town planning on doing any improvements in that area?
I think we just did, didn't we?
No,
Only the other end.
down by Mablin they did.
Yeah,
That's a 30-inch pipe that comes out of Mass Ave
Yeah,
into that brook. And then it goes all the way down to Shawshene River.
yeah.
I don't have the plan.
oh,
I'm sorry.
the big one that we were looking at?
Yeah, it's either a 30 or a 36.
36,
Yeah, it's big.
Okay.
And then there's another one that comes down Green Street that goes into that channel right in front of the condominiums.
Yep.
I know, because I grew up on them.
So when Will and I were out there, we did look at that, the main culvert coming out into the intermittent stream, and the head wall collapsed. And the DPW was not aware of that, so that'll be something that they're gonna have to come for fixing, but it's not really in a good situation.
That's old.
Yep. So that's for the drainage, and then we'll move on to the pool rehab work. So the pool and the surrounding deck, patio deck, are visible in 1986 aerial photography, so it's been there forever. The entire pool deck has to be removed and reconstructed, and concrete is proposed as it's going to be replaced in kind, basically. It's concrete now. The rest of it got undermined with the water flowing down, so they have to do it all now. The existing outer superstructure for the pool is in place, but they have to further reinforce, backfill, and do the liner install. Pool house seems solid, but it probably does need cosmetic work. Other work, removal of the sediment and the gravel and soil that was deposited down into the lawn area from the storm events. Loam and seed those areas for lawn. There are proposed stairs and landing off the rear of the existing deck, the existing rear deck. They're proposing that. I don't know if my flag change is going to kick the 50-foot no build further into that or not. We'll see when the plan revisions come. Let's see.
Which flag was that, Amy?
Oh, that was A22, I believe.
22?
Yep.
Yeah.
Good evening, Will Scuder from Warren Cameron. Yeah, Amy, it was flags A22 and 23 were removed.
Remove.
We added A21A, and it does actually have the 50-foot goes into about the third step now
Oh, okay.
on that patio, on the
Alright.
existing concrete patio.
Okay. All right. Let's see. There's a mulched play area that you see is in the 25 and partially on the neighboring property. So I think that's a big no-no. Let's see.
Well, you can't build on somebody else's property?
I guess that's it in a nutshell. I probably missed something, Will, if you want to fill in the gaps.
Yep, just a couple comments with regards to the grading out front. I know Amy touched on it. I think Borghese was just mentioning, there's a couple walls out there that are existing walls, and they might need a little bit of work. I think he's basically saying the town's not responsible for those walls, which is understandable and agreeable to. I do want to try to get a hold of him to talk to him and see if the town can assist in any of this work. Obviously, it's not functioning, and runoff from the streets going directly onto our property. So we're proposing the curb. I haven't had a chance to connect with him yet, so I still plan on trying to talk to him and seeing if we can work together and come up with some kind of compromise for some of the improvements out front.
Joe, any questions?
Couple comments and questions. One is I don't want to lose sight of the fact this started as an enforcement order before the disaster. That's really,
Right.
and they were looking to simply get the permits in place to put back what they had started to do and make some improvements. And then all this other stuff we talked about is the result of the flooding. And that's what the delay was all about. So you know, looking at the work that they're doing in the brook and stuff, I mean, I think there's a case to be made that, you know, let's not give this guy too much trouble, because he's actually probably looking to correct a lot of the woes coming from the town property to begin with. The thing that's critical here is that head wall. You know, without the head wall being acknowledged by anybody, it's not part of this project.
Correct, yeah.
You brought it to their
Yeah,
attention.
and I did
But without
quickly-
it being done, I mean, all the channel work and all the restoration work is almost for naught.
Yeah, and I did actually speak to the owners today, and he did mention that somebody from the town came out, I think it was about last year or the year before, and they kind of said, oh, yeah, that's something we'll have to fix. So they acknowledged, I don't know what shape it was in, but it's fully collapsed now. The pipe's, I don't know, 6 to 8 feet basically extended out. There's been a lot of erosion from that storm on the banks of the channel where it discharges. So I think the town is definitely going to want to take a look at it before any compromise to the actual road and starts eroding going up. Because it's a very steep slope before you get to Waverly Road. And it is starting to erode from the recent storms.
Yeah, they're definitely gonna have to address it before spring.
Yeah, I would definitely think so.
Is
I
that
mean,
the
there's a
spring
lot of
rains
water going through that pipe.
Like I said, I know, I lived there. I mean, I know,
I mean, that whole hill from
all the
the
water
middle
from,
school in Atkinson, every drop of
Everything
it finds
comes
its
down.
way down to this discharge point.
it's split. There's the one that comes down.
They're in
Mass Ave
green.
And green. Or the two spots.
So
Yeah,
that's the pipe,
I mean,
and the head wall's in front of it. It's like an old
wall's the rubble that's
mortared.
Exactly. You can see it's standing on the right side still, but that used to actually go all the way around, and you can see
Yeah.
that it no longer does. And obviously the banks
So the
actually
point I make
eroding.
here is that we're, you know, in good faith, this gentleman's coming in because of the enforcement order and because of the violation that resulted in the enforcement order, and he's looking to restore it. But the reality is this whole area here is gonna be difficult to get that embankment stabilized until the time the town comes in and does something.
Yeah, that's going to have to be. I mean, that's a pretty large project that
So I
hopefully
think, you know,
the town's going to
in
have to
good faith,
overtake.
we'd probably just address that at the certificate of compliance phase, that he did all of his work and it continues to erode. That's simply, that we could just, I guess, forcibly put it on the town and say, look, you got a problem down here.
Right.
But I don't think we should, I don't want to ever think that we're gonna be holding this landowner
Oh,
responsible
no,
for the inability for him to stabilize his work
Right.
because of this.
right.
So that's, you know, that's the first point. The area that you're talking about with John Bujay's letter is the driveway in the front yard area?
I believe the way I read that was
Yeah.
it's more of the regrading of the driveway, and there's 2 stone walls that are actually, it's their driveway, but it's in the right of way. And I think he's just saying that he's not going to be responsible for those because they're for the private use
So
of the driveway.
there's a wall
Yeah,
here,
because believe it or not, there's a paper
And a
street that
short
goes through
wall.
there.
Correct.
Kenwood, yeah.
Yeah,
Kenwood, you're right.
Yeah,
now it's straight.
I knew that went down to Green,
it goes all the way down to Green.
all the way to Green.
Yep.
Yeah, that'll never be built this.
No,
That's where the
where they
stream
put
is.
That's where they put the swale for right down the middle of the right of way.
The,
And
okay, I think if you're looking for opinion on the mulch player, out of everything else that's grandfathered, that one probably never was, and I hate to say it can't stay.
And I-
Not to mention the trespass, which is the least of our problems.
Yep, and with regards to that, I did look at it. One thing that we could propose is basically cutting that right in half, and that will keep it outside of the 25-foot no disturb, if that would be something the commission would be okay with. So basically, reducing the size, that would take it off that other property and keep it outside of the no build, so, or the no disturb rather. And it is permeable, it's mulch, and I think there's a little sand area, but that would be, the sand portion would be removed. But basically cutting that in half and keeping it outside of the 25-foot with the new flags.
And there's no structure in it, it's just a plain.
There's,
Big sandbox?
yeah, it's just little
There's-
plastic
it's
structures
up
on
on
top, so it's
Those
just
aren't
timber.
structures.
No, I know.
Yeah, those aren't structures. so-
Yeah, no, there's no footings for those.
Yeah, I think if you want to modify your plan to show
Yep.
just what you propose, I'm okay with that. Did you have an issue with the restoring the deck back to concrete? Were you looking for something else? 'Cause
No.
You seemed like
No,
I
I
heard
just-
something more, and an undertone to that,
No,
but
no,
maybe you're looking
just,
for blocks.
it's concrete for concrete.
Yeah, and
So
if you
it's
look,
not like we're getting pavers.
if you look at the plan, I kind of delineated the difference between what they had removed for the pool work and what they planned on keeping. But during the storms, the water basically undercut the rest of the remaining patio, so now it's kind of not really salvageable. They're not going to be able to compact under it, so the whole apron of the pool and everything else will now need to be fully replaced.
So let's talk about the slope down next to the garage coming down to the pool area. So that's pretty substantial. It's dropping about 7 feet in a relatively short distance. You know, what are you proposing to get that slope stabilized and be able to get the vegetation to take hold?
So they'll go in there, compact it, loam and seed. I mean, the big thing is keeping the street runoff from coming onto the property and keeping that runoff, and that's why we regraded the driveway. It kind of has a little bump. It's about 4 inches higher now, so we'll keep the runoff and adding the curb to prevent the street drainage, because there's not a big drainage area contributing. It's really was just the street that basically comes right over where that catch basin is, has nowhere else to go, and just goes right down that slope. And that's what obviously caused the erosion. And at this time, it's exposed. It's progressively getting worse. We have winter coming, so I was also going to request that there's a avenue to allow some kind of stabilization, getting some stone in there to basically temporarily hold this back for the winter. If they're not, I mean, I know we're going to continue most likely to the next meeting, and we're going to be in the dead of winter. So just for trying to get this thing stabilized and prevent the driveway from collapsing anymore, is try to get some stone in there and stabilize it temporarily.
I'm looking at the driveway, and I'm not trying to design this, but I'll tell you, there's not even space to put an apron in there.
That's, you know, right now, if you almost bottom out. You can tell they've been out there and they've patched it. They've raised out about 3 inches right on the edge of the pavement. It's not really doing much, so that's why we're basically raising that up, trying to get something, at least try to keep the water out. But right now, it's just jumping over the curb, jumping down the driveway. And you got the whole Mass Ave basically bypasses the 2 catch basins on the other side of Waverly. It goes all to this one catch basin. There's no curb. It's just kind of a sloped.
Catch basin isn't gonna catch that all the water. from
And the
coming
problem, we're at the end of the trunk line, so I think that pipe's probably flowing pretty much full,
Yeah,
so that
right.
water has nowhere to go besides down the driveway.
I see the water flow out of that pipe like 4 feet beyond the pipe.
I would, you can see how much erosion
Yeah, it's crazy.
from the last storm, so I would assume that it was coming straight out.
I'm not going to get into the physics, but you get that in at a steep enough angle, the Venturi effect.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
high volume
pulls it, yeah.
It's actually sucked the water down the
Yeah.
pipe.
But yeah, you got the
But it's
whole.
not tied into that angle. You
Yeah,
drive back
no,
up it.
and you have Mass Ave, which is a pretty large road that, they have catch basins, but I went
You
out
got-
during a
you got
small
Mass
storm.
Ave and you got Herrick Road coming down the other
Yeah,
side.
and it just jumps over the intersection.
Just,
Ugh, it stinks.
I don't know what
Engage in the
direction.
whole conversation, because I think the crux of this project is stabilizing that slope, and I don't see a good way to do it. I mean, even sodding it and
It-
anchoring it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's really not that steep. It's greater than 3-1 in most sections. I mean, we have 3-1 in some of them, but it's 4-1, so should be stable.
Okay.
Should be able to
And
stabilize
that's,
that.
that's all I have. Enough.
I don't have any questions. It's just, I know it's a nightmare because I go by it every day.
I know.
The play yard I don't have an issue with. Help me through this, Amy. Is this the 25 here and 50 to go through the pool area? Because it starts here and it goes.
Yep.
Is that the 50 and that's the 25?
Yep, you're right.
Yeah, majority, or
Yeah.
that corner of the pool house, that corner of the pool is
Yep.
in the 25 foot, and then most of it is in the 50.
You know, is this, even though it's existing, does it still require a waiver? Where it's being totally reconstructed?
Well,
It's pre-existing, but I think I bet if we went back far enough, it probably doesn't legally pre-exist. So,
I know that pool's been there a long time. It's probably been
I'm not talking about
collapsed.
the pool, I'm talking about the play area.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
No,
the
it's
play
not the deck.
area
The deck
is
area
gonzo.
and stuff is gonna be ripped out.
no, the pool deck has,
The pool deck's gonna
Is-
be ripped out.
I mean, the pool deck is in the 86 aerial. It's
So
very
that
clear.
wouldn't require a waiver.
Right.
The pool deck, and I guess that's the logic here, I think we could allow the mulch play area, meeting the 25. If they meet the 25, would we consider that a landscape feature, therefore it doesn't need a waiver? I think that's,
What,
They-
the play area?
yeah. But you're talking about taking it out of the 25.
25.
I mean, ideally, we would like to leave it, but we would,
No,
if we need to
you gotta
remove
get out
it.
of the neighbor's yard for starters.
Yeah, so I think the easiest plan of
That's
action
gonna
is cut it, basically cut it in half.
Yeah.
That would get it out of the neighbors, and that would also keep it out of the
Does
25.
that, are you sure, even with the flag change?
Yep, I actually revised the plans just to be
Okay,
safe.
okay.
So if you would
I
do
should-
all of that and keep it out of the 25, then you wouldn't need the waiver. It's a
Right.
landscape feature.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep, so the majority will be basically cut in half, more or less, outside of the 25.
And you wouldn't need one to
Those steps.
rebuild that pool deck.
No, because that was pre-existing, you're allowed
Right,
to
right.
put it back.
And we did submit the waiver also for basically the restoration of all the sediment that we're gonna have to basically remove and then just restore back to lawn.
So has the edge of lawn been there that long as well? Or was an area cleared out to put the mulch play area in there, in the 25?
There actually used to be a shed, if you
Okay.
look at the aerials behind, like, plus or
that's-
minus right on the backside of where that was, so there was a structure there. And I'm just looking at the aerials, and
Yeah.
it appears they took that out a few years ago and built this.
Okay. So it seems like going back to grass as opposed to restoring it as with native vegetation and stuff like that seems to make sense in that situation.
I think so. I mean, it's kind of a pain in the butt to mow it, to get, I think you'd be mowing someone's property anyway.
Right.
It's kind of,
How far does the driveway go past the house?
It
Coming
just goes
down.
into the garage,
It just,
stops right at the garage,
oh,
It's
stops
so
like
at the
right-
garage?
that was also the controlling factor. Obviously, you have the garage slab that you need to meet, which is pretty level.
yeah, I mean,
That
this.
whole driveway.
It's just like that,
I'm just thinking out.
so that's.
There's not a hell of a lot to say, like it pitch
It's
down from
2
the
feet.
house down that way.
It- And
There's 2
that's-
feet between the gutter and the garage.
That was
And
the
it's all pitching
challenge.
to the garage.
If you look, it's pretty much where the walkway is. I put those little squiggly arrows. That's
Yep.
kind of where we're gonna create more or less of a swale, basically pull the water away from the house, and the front yard basically all drains, or half the front yard drains to that spot, and then keep everything that does come down the driveway, force it around away from the garage.
No, but to me, what I would do, I'd grade it away from the house toward the channel. Right?
It is.
And downhill, and make my swale at the end. So so you got the water coming down, it's already going this way. And then
Yeah.
Putting your swale at the end.
It was definitely a challenge. I mean, one of the factors is obviously the walkway that's pretty much level with the whole front yard is very flat, under 1%. So we don't have a lot of options to drain that. I don't want to rely just on that catch basin for obvious reasons. So it basically takes some of the front yard, held that corner of that existing walkway, pitched it away from the garage, and then just made the grades work basically from that low spot back up to the street.
Because that's the killer to this whole project, is the water. I mean, not to prove all that driveway, because I'll tell you, if they wait any amount of time to fix that, that's all, what he's doing here is a waste of time.
That's what I was saying.
Yep.
But there's not that much different there today than it's been there 60 years,
Right.
50,
Well,
60
it's-
years.
true.
It's
That's
been
true.
degrading over the years. It's been a while. This didn't happen a 7-inch storm. This has been an
I
ongoing
mean, the
situation.
reality is that the principle makes complete sense. I did this my own driveway. You can't show it on a drawing, other than this is where you want it trend towards, and a really good Bobcat operator can make that happen. But you can't show it, because we're talking micrograding, we're literally talking about, things breaking a half an inch here and there to get that water, say,
I wasn't
serpentine
good
down
Yeah,
the driveway,
right.
get to the corner. What's that?
I said I was a good Bobcat operator.
We've had this conversation at the
So-
last meeting too.
Yeah.
And the reality is, I think the driveway, and you're gonna do the driveway as part of this work. It's not a future thing. It
No,
almost
I mean,
has to be done first.
the driveway is kind of the big concern right now. Obviously, with winter coming, and you see the hole is just slowly, and it's kind of working its way towards the footing of the garage. So we got to do something to try to stabilize that before winter sets in, because if it gets under the garage, that's the structural problem
Yeah, that's,
for the whole house. So it's getting worse basically every rainstorm. And if it's a big rainstorm, an inch, 2 inches, or an intense rainstorm, it's jumping the curb as is and coming right down and just eroding more and more.
Okay,
So,
well, you're the engineer, you guys design the project, really, I don't have an issue fixing it, because I feel bad for it, it's an awful situation over there. And it doesn't sound like you're gonna get any help from the DPW. Unfortunately.
I don't know.
Okay, well, we're gonna continue anyways.
I do have a few comments.
I'm sorry, Joe.
First of all, I'm totally in favor of doing an enforcement action or whatever it takes to stabilize that driveway and, get it to a point where it can weather the winter without any further damage. That works in the interests of the homeowner as well as the Wetlands Protection Act. So I'm definitely in favor of that. One thing that I think makes sense for this NOI is buffer zone plantings in the 25-foot no disturb. And the reason I say that is we've got two spots that are where the tree line comes very close to the wetland line, even in one spot goes inside the wetland line. I think in those two spots, it would make sense to do some mitigation plantings. Where you are so close to the wetland line, it's not good to have a manicured lawn where you're going to fertilize and all that stuff. I think those two spots. Do you see, Amy, where I'm
Yeah,
talking
at,
about?
A17
17,
and then
A21.
A21.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think those two spots
So-
it would make sense to do that, so that they're mowing around the close spots and minimizing the impact to the wetland.
Yep.
Now, just a question. I mean, obviously with all the sediment, they've kind of let portions of their lawn go, and it's, as Amy saw, it's getting vegetated really well. So instead of actually doing mitigation plantings, is it something that we can just basically let naturally revegetate? Would that be an option?
We'd have to memorialize it somehow.
Yeah, we could put the post and markers and things, the typical.
I would be in favor of that.
If you leave it alone, it's gonna revert.
It already
in
is.
one season.
It already is.
That's all.
But it'll revert with invasives.
It'll be
right?
knotweed and bits.
Well, no, actually, I
No?
mean, there's some nice
Is it?
natives
Yeah, I'm
popping
being
up.
I'm being unfair.
I was surprised, but it's
Well, that was
not
my
as bad as you
concern,
think.
too.
I don't
Right.
think there's any bittersweet down there.
On the other side.
On
It
the
was
other
actually
side.
in the stream channel there was bittersweet, not
Yeah.
on that side.
Right.
And actually, there was one other thing, just so we can memorialize it. A large maple tree fell down in the area of A18, A17, so we
Yeah.
just wanted to get permission basically to cut it at the wetland line and get it out of the yard.
Yeah,
But a
it's-
large maple tree kind of snapped and fell.
Okay, so like Jack's suggestion wasn't
Yeah,
bad.
there
We
it
still
is.
have an existing,
That's it.
we still have an existing enforcement order here, right?
Yes.
So stabilizing the driveway would come under the enforcement order?
If you wanted.
No, the enforcement order was to bring it here. We have an NOI.
Right.
We would order, in that order of conditions we put out, we're gonna be giving them permission to do the work. And on the construction sequence, we should say that the driveway restoration shall be done first in order to control runoff and
Right.
for the survivability of slope restoration.
So,
We can condition that, and I think that's what they want to do anyway.
Yeah, except the only thing is time is of the essence at this point.
Yeah.
And to do that whole driveway work, getting a contractor, snow's coming soon, plants typically shut down, asphalt plants. So we're just looking to basically go in there before we do the major work, renovate the whole
I
driveway,
got you.
Yeah.
and just stabilize it so it doesn't get
Even though
worse.
we're at the soonest, we're 10 days before they can even start. 11
yeah, and I don't have a decision.
And he doesn't have a number yet either.
Well,
We do have a number.
We
Oh,
do
okay.
actually.
Yeah,
It was
1879.
But I don't have a draft decision ready, so
Yeah.
we'd have to continue
Yeah,
to
we
November
do.
anyway.
So then I agree with Jack, if the enforcement, we can amend the enforcement order to allow the driveway restoration work to happen immediately
And tree removal?
in the tree removal.
Yep.
Yeah. The fallen tree removal.
Yeah. And then Amy, the buffer zone plantings, why don't you guys
Yeah.
apply some judgment
Yeah.
as to how that area is progressing, and
Yeah.
maybe that will make that part of the NOI.
Okay.
Yeah, because there's gonna be some area behind the fence, on the pool, by the pool, just on the backside. That's
I
kind
think
of.
the two areas that Jack pointed out are logical and that they would thrive. And
Yeah.
and it may be as simple as simply stop mowing, stop maintaining.
Yep.
Or maybe just plant some shrubs as well.
Yeah.
But you guys figure that out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's already starting to pop like crazy.
Okay.
but what's popping, that's the
Good stuff.
good stuff. All right.
Yes, good stuff.
We can figure that out on the NOI, but
Okay.
I think we get them started right away.
Okay.
So we gotta continue to the next meeting.
Before we do that, let's amend the enforcement order.
So I move that we amend the enforcement order to allow immediate stabilization of the driveway temporarily for the winter, and removal of the fallen maple tree from the
Lawn.
yeah, A21 flag location.
No,
Second.
as far as this, what about the slope? Just gonna leave that for now.
No,
Well, that's
that's going to
the-
be part of the NOI.
That's part
Okay,
of the
that's gonna
driveway
be-
stabilization.
Okay.
So we're talking about, let me just, hold on. We're talking about filling the hole. I just want to make sure I know what this EO is telling them they can do.
Do we want to see a certain size stone or anything like minimum size stone or anything like that? If that's what it's going to be used.
What's
So-
the subgrade, you mean?
Boulders, like that's
That's the driveway, right?
Yeah, that's the driveway, and what I would
This is,
ideally want to do is basically take some of the sediment that's kind of on the backside to fill that hole, so we can kind of compact that in there, and then we would put some stone, larger stone, to basically slow velocities down, let the water trickle through, rather than just
And you already have erosion
cascade.
controls as part of,
Yeah, if anything,
Yeah.
the enforcement order was beneficial because it, all the erosion controls held up very well and prevented all the sediment.
slow that down.
So it did, they worked.
That's why I asked how far they were doing the driveway, but maybe you could make an underground swale with erosion stone. And then put gravel on top, pave, so the water
I wouldn't
flows
put any, I
subsurface.
mean, I'd be real reluctant as a homeowner to put something formal and deliberate and to handle town runoff from the street on my property. I wouldn't want to do it.
Yeah.
You know, why run the risk of whatever I put in, not doing the job of failing? It just seems unfair.
I agree.
And like I said, I'm going to try to get a hold of John Borghese over the next couple of weeks to work something out and see what's going on and see what we can do.
All right. So.
so we're not going to prescribe how they do the temporary stabilization, right? We're not prescribing how they do it or what they use. Is that what I'm
The way I see
hearing?
it is, the NOI is going to be the final restoration.
Yeah,
That's going to address that.
right.
And what we've just done in Jack was good to pick up on it, is we've given them a window to take stopgap measures to
Yeah,
get,
okay.
to get it stabilized now before the real winter sets in case we don't get this out
Gotcha.
at the next meeting.
Okay.
So basically, we just gave them a 28-day window.
To get a
to-
jump start.
To do whatever he can on this.
Gotcha.
And if it's
Okay.
just to get through the winter, then this NOI will be the final restoration to do the actual paving.
Okay. Okay. So we have a motion. Did we have a second?
I seconded the
All those in favor say
amendment on the
aye.
enforcement order.
Right.
Opposed, that's unanimous.
Okay.
And I move that we continue.
And then we have a motion to continue.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that's unanimous. At least we gave you some breathing room.
Great, thank you.
I mean, you look at the pictures, like, there was a war in there.
Thanks for coming, Will.
Thank you.
Okay. Next one is 863 Willow Street.
Alrighty. So I gave you guys a copy of the latest enforcement order. We were looking for a removal and restoration plan. We received a letter request from Norris Environmental this afternoon. Essentially requesting the commission to allow these items to remain through the winter months and be removed in the spring as part of a notice of intent that they plan to file for reconfiguring what's there with the pool. The homeowner's here this evening with us, so
When was the original enforcement order issued?
when? Okay, hold on. I'll find that.
September 28th? That was the amended one.
That was the
Before
amended.
that.
May. End of May,
May.
so it's been a while.
And so they want to wait till spring now? When did that letter, when did that come, today?
Yes.
Yeah, but I thought that's part of the direction we gave at the last meeting, that she was here, Maureen was there. I don't think we were looking to get the work done immediately, but there was
No.
a very deliberate window in which they had to file an NOI, which they didn't do because they were coming in to, offer another alternative. So I think that we may allow the work, the spirit of what the request is allow the work to continue in the better months next spring. But still, the NOI should be in place now, not wait to put the NOI in some future date, down the road. Not gonna kick the can down the road. File the NOA now, which will be in place with an order of conditions.
How do we escape?
Well, I think-
How do we get around the enforcement order?
No, I think you guys, what you said is, we're gonna deal with removal of the hardscape within the 25 and the 50 under the enforcement order.
Right,
And that work has to get done first.
yes.
And then they
file
can-
an NOI.
They can propose to take that material and store it over here, and then, in the meantime, we can review a notice of intent for the whole kit and caboodle to incorporate the pool. But you were very clear at the last
That the stuff had to be
discussion
taken out.
that you
Yeah.
didn't want to roll all this together
You're
in a
right,
notice of
I'm
intent
remembering that
because,
better now, but the reality is, what are we really gaining? So I do agree with the logic to not doing any physical work until the weather permits, but I still think the NOI should be filed now, in the next meeting. Because what I want to do is I want to have a permit, I want to have them on a hook with a very real timetable, with the clock ticking with an order of conditions to get that work done.
but we're not, but I just want to be clear that the work to remove and restore in the 25 and the 50 is going to remain under an enforcement order, not in an order of conditions.
Correct.
Okay.
So you're saying you want to see An
But
NOI for the work outside
for the work
50,
outside the
for-
50.
Yeah, that's why.
Because that's still a violation, it's still.
It's still a
part of the
violation, stuff should be
violation.
removed. It's been going on since May. And at the last meeting or the meeting before, we distinctly told them, okay, you have to remove the stuff from 25 and the 50. And just leave it there, and then when you file your NOI or your appeal or whatever you wanna do, you can put it back. Or put it back to where we agreed.
Yeah, because you guys said that the notice of intent will be eligible for review once the directives of this amended enforcement order are satisfactorily addressed.
So we've already gave them
So
direction
I don't
on
know
what
if
we
we
want done, and evidently with Maureen's not able or whatever. And, because if we wait all winter, then we come spring, and it's too wet for the spring. I think the enforcement order should be addressed.
Well, the
It's gotta come out one way or the, it's gotta come out one way or the other. We're not gonna let them put anything in at 25.
The enforcement order requires that a restoration plan, including a plant's schedule, be reviewed at our last meeting. So do we, I don't recall, we looked,
Granted a continuance to this meeting.
I mean, what are we delaying? It's not like we're
so
gonna
do we
let
have a
them keep something.
restoration plan?
No, we do
Yeah.
not.
We don't have a restoration plan.
So it's really the likelihood of getting whatever you order removed and then stabilize it, and if we are looking for restoration, you know, how do you restore
Well,
it
you
this
can't
time of
restore
year?
it now, but I mean, they can level it, I don't, it seemed to me it was flat up there. I don't have a plan with me for a long time. It was level, we're up on top after you put this terrace on.
Yeah,
You terraced everything.
yeah, it's flat.
It's coming back to me now. So, we were looking for a plan to
Yeah,
restore the
right.
25 and the 50.
Right,
At the last meeting, a separate proposal
yes,
was put in front of us.
yes,
We said no to that. So it seems like this restoration plan is what we're looking for.
Right.
At this point.
Yes.
Which should be submitted like now,
right.
right?
Merrimack Engineering's already working on plans
Okay.
for us to submit, so
But I think what
She's talking about the NOI plans, I think.
Okay.
With Merrimack Engineering.
yes.
Yeah. I think Norris is supposed to have the
Removal and restoration.
yeah, the room.
yeah, she doesn't really address that in this, is the
no.
problem.
No,
No.
she doesn't, yeah,
Yeah.
right.
So we need that by the next meeting, I think.
Yeah.
Right, it was,
I know.
so,
It's already overdue.
right.
So we can acknowledge the receipt of her letter and the request contained in that letter. We can find that they are not in compliance with the enforcement order by not meeting the deadline, that we are inclined to understand the seasonal nature of the physical work, but there's no excuse, and find them in contempt for not filing the restoration plan in time. And that fines will, if not, the fines will commence as of tonight, if not filed by the next meeting, moving forward. So put it right back on her lap, and say, look, you know, we acknowledge your request, but you haven't done what you're supposed to do. The physical work, I have no problem holding off on, but you need to be moving forward with the other things you're supposed to be doing.
I agree.
That's fair. That's more than fair.
So you
And just put a little fire under them and get them going.
So we've
Yeah.
gotta, it's gotta be complied, it's an enforcement order, we can't let it go.
like I said, it's been going on some, first it was she was too busy. So we lost like 3 months. And then she finally showed up, and now we're back to the same thing, like, I can't come. Well, this is important. She's got a client here that's subject to fines.
Well, I think it's not necessarily, I think there's two drivers of the bus, so, you know, I don't think she's calling the shots necessarily.
It's okay. We just
Well,
wanna, we
I'm
wanna
just
make sure that
saying.
they meet their obligation to the enforcement order.
Right.
And I think we are being realistic
I
and
mean-
flexible. The physical work, to start that now, what am I really protecting from the wetland? I'm willing to let that happen, but son of a gun, you just keep kicking the can down the road. We don't know what you're proposing to do, and you were told you needed to have it at the last meeting,
Right.
again at this meeting,
Right.
and you haven't.
And they were
So-
told to remove the stuff out of the 25.
So I think the response to the letter is exactly that tone, and to support that tone and the letter, we amend and I'll make this as a motion, to amend the enforcement order to add the imposition of fines to the extent allowed by the bylaw, beginning this evening, which will be waived if they meet the compliance by the next meeting. And if they fail to, the fines will commence as of today and move forward until they do comply with submitting the plan.
The restoration,
Restoration.
the removal and restoration.
As far as removal stuff, could we, the next meeting, have a set of, do we have the plans again?
Well, I have mine.
You have yours?
Nothing's changed.
I don't have them.
No,
They weren't proposing to do anything, they were just showing the existing conditions.
yeah, that's
So
existing
this,
conditions.
yeah, this was only existing
Right.
conditions.
Right.
Okay, so I'll second Joe's motion to amend the enforcement order. Or- Was that a, no, yeah,
Yeah.
amending the enforcement order to allow for fines commencing today if not complied with, next meeting, November 15th?
Right.
And the compliance piece is to submit the plan by the next.
The
meeting, not physical
restoration,
work.
removal and restoration plan by next meeting.
The plans she has to submit is for recovering the area on the 25, right? Submit
25,
what we're gonna do in the
25
spring.
and the 50.
So what we want is a plan and narrative that says, I'm gonna do A, B, C, and D to get this stuff out of the 25 and the 50, and this is how I'm gonna restore that area, that footprint, and wherever you're gonna put the stuff, because I'm sure you're not gonna throw it all away, you're gonna store it somewhere to be reused, right? So we want to kind of know where you're gonna put that stuff. And then we'll review it at the November 15th meeting, and then place a deadline for that work to be done
In the spring.
in the spring, probably.
Right, right.
Right. In the meantime, you can work with Steve Stupinski to get your notice of intent prepared.
Oh, he's doing it?
Yeah.
Because I didn't know about this. I know we have to, so, but I'm on her hand, so I don't know what she's submitting, or she submitted this for me yesterday, so I don't know if it's, has to become more staffs or not. So, but if it's starting failing like this, I'm gonna talk to her. So,
Yeah, she's been before this commission dozens of times. She knows exactly what it is we're looking for.
Yeah.
If she's pretending, I shouldn't say it that way. If she doesn't know, there's gotta be a reason she doesn't know.
Yeah, item 2 in the enforcement order letter specifies what we were just talking about. Okay, so, and she knows
Exactly
what
what that
this means, yeah, she knows what this means. So item 2, A and B.
okay. I'll talk with her tomorrow.
And if she has any questions, she can call Amy. I'm sure Amy will give her the proper direction. All right, so we're gonna,
So,
And for the record, I wanna be clear that, you know, we've gone meeting to meeting to meeting to meeting with this sort of discussion. I don't, if she comes in and says, I'm unable to meet the deadline because I couldn't do this, the fine's tonight.
yeah,
There's no more excuses.
no more excuses.
No more excuses.
Just a question. Fines, it's on me.
Yep,
yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
that's good.
So now
So
it's gonna be,
you
now,
can get that message to her.
the ball's in your court. You can bark at her now. Because she's costing you money.
Yeah,
But if she does meet that deadline, you know,
You
there's
won't
no
have a
fines.
fine.
oh, that's
If she
fine.
comes to the next,
So
we're
she
we're all
needs to work.
set.
We'll
Make
make it
sure
work.
she does it.
Yeah.
Yep, just make sure she does it, that's all. And then Amy will reach out to her also. I mean, we don't want, it's not that we don't wanna fine you, but just like it's just been ongoing and on. And like I
I
said,
know.
you were here earlier when I told the other applicant, we try and be as consistent as we can. So, you know, this is going to be going on since May.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you guys have been
It
really,
should've been-
really flexible with this one.
Really, it should have been done, you know, we gave her like 3 months because she was too busy. And first you couldn't get anybody, then we, you know,
Yep.
it's not our responsibility to,
We've been more than fair, I think. on
yeah,
this.
I mean, a violation is a violation. I mean, if we're not gonna enforce violations, we must stay home and watch football.
Is there a game on tonight?
No,
Oh, jeez, all right. So there's a second on that.
Oh, we need to vote, right?
okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
No, it's just very aggravating when, because the poor homeowner doesn't know what the laws are, what the bylaws are, what, you know, I know he was at fault because he did it with, knowing that he had a delineation on his, when he bought the property. But, you know, now we try, get it and begin to fix it, and everybody's just kinda like twiddling their thumbs.
I almost said that a lot at the last meeting. It seems like, and again, my perception is wrong, but it seems like the people are just doing it, and they'd rather deal with the enforcement order
I have
than
no
file the
updates.
NOIs, because it's
So
the same
no.
end result to them. It seems like they just do it.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I
And
mean,
it's really
this was
frustrating.
egregious, but whatever.
All righty.
Okay, next one is 495 southbound.
I have no new information for that. They have their enforcement order that the commission voted on last
Okay.
meeting. They're
So-
working on the IRA.
Okay,
It's
so like
what I can
Joe just did with the last people, finding them starting today?
I don't think we went that far with our enforcement order. I can read it to you.
What was he supposed to be here for tonight?
No, just if there's an IRA prepared or additional, information.
I don't remember the exact timing, but I seem to think that this meeting and his next statutory requirement
Yep.
for the release were like about the same time, so he must have something done.
Yeah,
Do you guys remember him
Yeah.
mentioning
yeah,
that?
something about a 90-day thing from the
Yeah, there
incident.
was a clock that was ticking.
Yeah. He has to get it done by a certain day. Like it was 30 days for something, then 60 days for something else, and then 90 days it was supposed to be all
So
done.
this is weird, this is state property. It's
Yeah.
covered by the insurance company for the trucking company.
Trucking company.
And represented by Clean Harbors, so even with who the hell do you find? You find the property owner? I mean, this is
Responsible party,
uncharted
I don't know.
territory for us.
No, I wouldn't start fining right now. I mean, we gave them a deadline of January
To be done.
1st, 2024, to carry out these directives that would be within a IRA anyway. And they'd have to come back to me with a description if they're gonna do mechanized work, because we said hand work is fine. So we said get erosion controls in, manual work is fine. Let us know what mechanized work, if
Yeah,
you are
he's-
proposing
he's-
it.
He seemed to be leaning toward manual work, but he wasn't sure what he was gonna do.
No, I know, it wasn't.
And the mechanized, I remember you guys.
Hit that right on the
So
head.
I,
He
you
didn't know
know,
what he was gonna do.
this is pretty much exactly what you guys said at
So
the
we gave
meeting.
them
So
plenty of time to do all this stuff. So there's no, we can't really fine if they haven't.
No.
They're still in
They're,
compliance.
yeah.
When
they're
is he
not-
coming back to us?
Well, we didn't really order him to come back to us at all. I mean, other than
Okay.
he's probably in the midst of preparing the IRA or finishing it or whatever. And obviously, he's going to share it with me, and if anything deviates from the enforcement order, I'll bring it back to you guys.
Now, they must be getting some guidance from Mass DOT what they want.
Yeah, I think it's,
Do we have any of that, any
You think
information
so?
from them? What?
Do you think so?
or what they're going to let him do. I mean,
Still on the side
they,
of the road?
I think the IRA's gonna drive that, though.
I think
Yeah.
IRA is
right.
Yeah.
I think DOT is just sitting back letting the process run its
Yeah.
course.
Do we want him back in front of us
Not
on
him.
November 15th?
No. That's like,
I mean, I can convey,
Waste of
I
time.
can keep in touch with him by email or whatever and convey whatever he provides.
I mean, we prescribe pretty specifically
Yeah.
what we want to see. So like even like native roadside mix, so it's almost like an order of conditions in a sense.
Yeah,
Like a
I mean,
minor order of conditions
Yeah,
in a sense.
it's,
In the enforcement order.
right.
Even as
So,
final
I mean,
inspection, all
I
that
think it's,
stuff.
I think it's how are they gonna do it? That's really the big thing.
Right, that's what they
That's
need
the
to come
big
back to
question
you
mark.
and-
Right,
and run that
exactly.
by you.
We told them how to do it, and she still wouldn't listen to us.
Oh.
But anyways, okay, so we'll just,
So,
take
just-
no action.
No action.
But if you could reach out to him, that'd be a good idea.
Yeah, it would be good to get.
Oh, yeah.
updated.
Yeah, I would send them a letter and
Absolutely.
say, look, you,
Oh, yeah.
we had an agenda item, we
I
expected to
did,
get something,
I
and,
emailed them
yeah.
this
Yeah.
afternoon,
Yeah,
saying,
we
you know,
expect to have
what's up?
something tangible by the
Right.
next meeting. Don't
Yes.
necessarily need to appear, but,
All right.
you know, we wanna know what your status is.
All right. So
Their,
much for
their
that.
track record is to do stuff right away for like 2 or 3 days and then do nothing for the rest of the time.
Geez,
That's
does
the
that sound
industry.
familiar?
That's
There's
that in-
a
that's how that
section of
industry
Forest Street
operates.
that's- The section of Forest Street that's, comes to my mind.
Okay.
The great
Foster
immediate
Street,
response.
excuse me.
Foster,
I don't
yeah,
have,
That's exactly what they did.
I don't have the calendar, the meeting calendar for 2024. I'll do that next meeting.
Okay,
And then all that's left is a
Decision.
decision for 271 Stevens.
Have you heard back from Al at all?
Yeah, I'll let you know.
Okay, just.
Yep,
looks pretty clean to me, Amy.
Hope he's okay.
yep.
Nothing.
There's nothing there.
It's easy.
Yeah.
$1,000.
Yeah.
Now, why are you going with permeable sand instead of polymeric sand?
Because you guys have been
Wants it to be
conditioning
permeable.
it that way.
But it's not like we're feeding a wetland, the wetland's actually
Well, that's
upgrading from
true.
here.
Actually, yeah, I
And,
guess.
but again, there's
I mean,
nothing
we're still-
downstream, but
I don't know.
they didn't seem to balk at it anyway.
Yeah, so,
It's not a lot of material anyways.
Yeah.
Okay, any questions?
So we're leaving condition 47 in with the polymeric sand
yeah, I
is
think so.
prohibited?
Yeah, he was agreeing to it, so.
Yeah.
If there's no other questions, take a motion.
No amendments, move that we adopt as drafted.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous. Meeting questions I have, we can do it after the adjournment, right?
Yeah.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, that's unanimous.
45 PM.